Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Rich Revolutionaries podcast. Today we have on another very special guest, Emily, and I'll let her introduce herself with her last name so I don't butcher it. Emily is a mother, a teacher, and founder of Sovereign Rising that is pioneering a whole new conversation around motherhood that brings through the importance of not only becoming aware of our subconscious mind, our emotional, energetic, and nervous system landscape, but how to work with it intentionally to create an environment for a child to thrive in from their original blueprint rather than the dense programming of society, culture, family, conditioning. And we'll get into all of what that means. I'm really excited for this episode. And Emily, I'll give the floor to you to introduce yourself, who you are, who you work with, and your magic in the world.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's listening to this conversation as well, because it is so important. I'm Emily Lundrigan, and I'm a mother to, she's now three,
Hmm.
and she's been the biggest spiritual awakening I've ever gone through having her. I am the founder, like you said, of Sovereign Rising, which is at its core supporting mothers in raising unprogrammable kids to the matrix, allowing kids to be free. And when we think about all the inner work, a lot of it comes down to childhood. But yet there's no conversation of how can we support kids so they don't end up as adults in therapy trying to clear all this. And that's where my focus is. It is on how can mothers begin to clear what they picked up from their childhood and their parents' childhood and their parents' childhood, 7 generations past, to
Mm-hmm.
allow mothers to come back to their power, to allow them to be cycle breakers and allow kids to be free thinkers, to be powerful, to realize that they are the creators of their reality and to love themselves. So that's pretty much what Sovereign Rising is in a nutshell.
Mm, what a beautiful nutshell. I want to break open this nutshell and get into more of the specifics of, well, let's actually start with when we use the word matrix, right? It's a loaded word. It can mean a lot of different
Mhm.
things to a lot of different people. My interpretation of it is okay, well, mathematically, a matrix is like a function of different points and their relationship to each other. And so when we're talking about family social programming, for me, it has a lot to do with emotional reactivity, scarcity, urgency, outsourcing power, conditional worth, belonging, and belief. And I want to hear you kind of unpack more of what, quote unquote, the matrix means for you and how that shows up in, that's two sides of the same coin, parenting and childhood development.
Yeah. Do you have 5 hours?
Right?
So when I say the Matrix, it's a very loaded word. And I always think of the movie, right? Where you are plugged in to a computer game that has its own set of programs, beliefs, stories that people are just following unconsciously, right? There's the whole storyline is we're all quote unquote asleep. We have no idea we're in this computer game. And when we relate that to our current reality, it's the same thing in the sense that Hollywood, social media, the school system, the medical system, they're all telling us and conditioning us to believe something, to believe a very certain set of beliefs, stories, lies, in order to keep us at a vibration of fear. Because when, if you think about the moments when you're in fear, you can't think rationally. You give away your power. You are go back to a childhood moment, a childhood thought patterns of I just need someone to take care of me.
Mm.
And if the population is in that state of fear, well, then anything that this system, the quote unquote elites, we could go down the rabbit hole of all the different ones in power, then no matter what is said to you, you believe it as the truth. It's almost like you go back to a childhood way of living.
Mm.
And there are certain things in place, such as the food, the water, the education system, that keep you in that vibration of fear, in that I can't see anything but what is told to me, the news. The list could go on. And so my my purpose here that I was channeled over and over until I finally listened was we have to free mothers from these
Mhm.
lies because motherhood is one of, if not the most important role in society.
Mhm.
You as a mother, you are the portal from spirit to physical form. It is your nervous system, your belief systems that shape your kids from the moment of conception.
Mm.
And if a mother is listening to the lies that keep them in fear, then they are instilling that into their children unconsciously through
Mhm.
multitude of different ways that we can talk about in a moment. And so when we start to raise kids outside of the matrix, it means instilling them with the beliefs so they are living through love and they
Mm.
can see that fear there. It's not telling you to like you have to raise your kids on Mars. It's raise your kids.
Elon's gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
There's 13 kids.
It's raise your kids in the matrix, but powerful enough to see it's a matrix, to see that the lies are there, so they can thrive. They don't have to struggle with the scarcity mindset that most of majority of the population has, with low self-esteem, with fear, with worry, with anxiety, with sickness. They don't have to live in that because the mother is going to instill the beliefs of you are so powerful, you are so safe, you are confident, you love yourself, you're worthy of love. And that raises a child who is a free thinker. That
Mhm.
raises a child or that raises an adult who is free, who can't be conditioned by fear, who's able to see through that veil of illusion. And that is my goal here, not just to help a family, but to help the next generation as a whole. Because when a generation of children are free, the
Mm.
whole conscious collective shifts. I just got a
Mhm.
whole wave of truth bombs as I said that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Okay. I want to keep going down this thread of what are all
Girl.
the ways. But first, I want to take it back a little bit to that moment where you found out that you were with child and what started to shift? Like, what was the line in the sand moment? What was going on externally and internally that led to this like awakening beyond the fear matrix?
For myself personally.
Yeah.
So I actually talk about this a lot in my book, The Sovereign Child, which just got published, and I'm so excited. Um, so my husband and I were aware of all this before we had our daughter. So literally every time, he's probably gonna hate me for saying this, every time we would, that moment,
Mhm.
we would sit in gratitude of
Mhm.
whatever is happening here. We love you if a child has been implanted.
Mhm.
And like I just went through a normal pregnancy. I've been a theta healer, and we can talk more about what that is. I've been a
Mhm.
theta healer for, at this point, it was probably like 7, 8 years. And so throughout my pregnancy, I was doing the reprogramming, I was noticing what was coming up, and I was clearing it. I was making sure my nervous system was regulated. And I was like, I got this in the bag. Motherhood's gonna be easy for me.
And then
And then I got bitch slapped in the face by my next biggest spiritual awakening because I went through postpartum anger, rage,
Mm.
depression, everything. And I remember one moment when my daughter wasn't sleeping. She had acid reflux. So when she did sleep, I had to hold her upright for 30 minutes. By the time I put her down, get back to sleep, she was up again. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was rough. And I remember crying on the kitchen floor because she just got to sleep, but it took me an hour. I was exhausted. And I was like, Creator, like universe, help me here. And I was reminded of theta healing. So I had stopped in that first year because my body went into full fight or flight of
Mm-hmm.
like, you're just, my primal need is to sleep. And so I started incorporating theta healing again, and I started just connecting with that altered brainwave state every morning. And I started noticing that my daughter was reacting differently when I was entering
Mm-hmm.
into theta. I started noticing that, okay, like I'm feeling anxious about her sleep. Let me just do some clearing on myself. Let me just download myself with some new programs to feel more grounded. And I noticed she started sleeping more. And then I started saying, okay, there's something here. This whole time I've been in beta and she's been in theta. Well, no wonder I can't connect with her. No wonder there's this huge disconnect and there's this rupture that keeps happening. And then I said to myself, okay, well, how about I see if I can clear her acid reflux? And I
Mm-hmm.
did.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when it clicked that everything, and again, it's almost like you know this, but then it clicks on a somatic level, the
Mm-hmm.
highest and greatest truth. Everything comes down to beliefs and energy. Everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working on my belief systems and I had started noticing my daughter's behavior changing without me even working on her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started to see I have such an important role here. It is my blueprint that is being passed down to her. So, do I actually want to keep the anxiety, the anger, the fear, or can I just clear that postpartum by changing the belief systems that create the behavior and actions of postpartum rage and anger and anxiety? And so I
Mm-hmm.
did. And I healed my postpartum with energy and changing my beliefs and working with the subconscious and working with the nervous system. And my daughter healed her acid reflux and she started sleeping better. And that's when Creator just flooded to me all this
Mm-hmm.
information about the energetic development of children, how when she's in her, um, when I'm in my first year postpartum, I go right back to my root chakra development with her. So all of these feelings of anger and rage, that was just reflecting to me what I experienced when my root chakra was being developed as a kid. So it was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to see the connection between us and our energetic development. And when I started to hone in on it and give very detailed of what she needs, what I need, what are the lessons we're both learning, what are we teaching each other, it became so simple. And I
Mm-hmm.
started sharing this with my friends and I started saying, hey, what age is your kid? What are you? What age are you? Let's see what you're both being called to learn. And it resonated with everyone. And so that's when I realized this is the missing piece of parenting, of motherhood, because we all talk about behaviors and sleep training. Don't even get me started on that. And like you want your kids to hit the milestones. And like now we're moving into conscious parenting, and that's great. And we're still missing the energetic piece of parenting, the energetics that allow your kids to, and you, to experience the awakening that is this life and this relationship between mother and child.
Mm-hmm. Mm. The part that you shared about that first year of revisiting your like root chakra development, I was like, holy, holy, I've never heard that before. And I don't have any children yet, but that is
Just keep that in the
definitely
back of your
such
mind.
a wisdom bomb to drop. And like, if we could just have that awareness as new mothers, like how much more resourced can we be during that time? How much better can we communicate with, our partners and hopefully you have a village of support around you. I know not most mothers don't. Um, but when that that awareness of what actually is in the energetic landscape, then there's this opportunity to be in responsibility and ownership of it and be in that like sovereign creator of like consciously choosing, okay, how am I going to respond to this? What am I going to make this mean? How am I going to allow this to grow me and evolve into this new version of myself alongside my child? Hmm, I love that so much. And so you briefly touched on sharing with your community, and I know that has extended out in further ripples with the book, and client work as well. So I want to hear more about that world of bringing it forward um, into a more like structured format. How do people come into contact with you? What does the work that you do together look like? And yeah, what are some things that they can expect on the other side of
Hmm. So many wonderful questions in that. So
it?
I'd say the best place to start is the book because it allows you to go through at your own pace
Mm,
and probably get triggered by a lot of what's in there because it shatters everything that you've been told about motherhood. And I always say this to my clients and in all my videos, you have the opportunity to feel guilty about what you did, to hold shame about it, to feel pressure. And that's also just your own limiting beliefs because you can also see it as this is the greatest responsibility and I am so empowered. And that's really what I want to drill into moms is that it doesn't have to feel like pressure. It doesn't
mm,
have to feel overwhelming. It doesn't have to feel like, oh, great, this is one more thing on my list of things to do as a mother. It actually is the thing that will alleviate all of the
mm,
anxiety, the worry, the fear, the overstimulation, because all of that is just echoes of the hidden belief that you haven't uncovered yet. And
mhm,
that is, there's two different avenues that I work with mothers. The first one is on uncovering your belief systems. What
mhm,
is your blueprint as a mother that you are passing down to your kids? And let's do the work on clearing that. So that could look like I have an app, the Mother Frequency, where you get to tune in on your own time and get to just receive the reprogramming on whatever you're experiencing in that moment. Some of my favorite ones that I've returned to a couple of times is temper tantrums because my daughter is going through them right now. And there's all different topics from like abundance to self-worth to forgiveness, all of that. Or there's that step further, which is actually learning theta healing. So you can be the sovereign
mm.
leader. Because that's also what I want mothers to feel empowered is that, yeah, you can work with me, but I want you to know how to do this. Because when
Yes.
you know how to do this, then like there's that feeling of, okay, say I freaked out at my kid. I don't have to worry. I can clear the trauma from them and me, right? It's never a
Mm,
I am powerless. It's never I am helpless.
mhm,
It's always I'm the creator. I can just go into the subconscious and just clear the belief.
mhm,
So that is really where I guide mothers to is learn how to do this. Learn how to get into the subconscious, learn how to reprogram beliefs, learn how to tune into your kids' energy because then it becomes so much easier. And then once mothers are in that space, then it becomes on let's support your kids' energetic development. And that means learning what chakra they're developing at this time, learning what
mhm,
belief systems they're instilling somatically and psionically in that chakra based on your age and their age. Because
mm,
again, then it's pairing both. It's the subconscious, it's the energetics, allowing you to allowing you to instill the beliefs into your child so they are powerful, so they are the creators of their reality. And
mhm,
that would look like Sovereign Child Academy, which is a whole academy where we learn about all of this, on a really deep level. And yeah, I'm always coming up with new things that I'm being channeled to support mothers, but that's just where you start. Or there's also tons of free content on YouTube.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. I love that you have a whole like ecosystem, different entry points for women, depending on what level of mm, I guess like openness they have to receiving support would be the the barrier there. And I want to get even like deeper into some specifics of like
Oh,
what
yes.
are the patterns of belief that you are commonly seeing. Like we touched on abundance, we touched on forgiveness, we touched on I forget some of the other ones that you mentioned, but in terms of like language of thoughts of like scenarios, what are some of those patterns that you notice in your client work that come
Hmm.
up again and again?
Yeah. So one of the biggest ones is I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough mom. And again, that is very intentionally programmed into mothers.
Mhm.
Mothers are mothers are being shown all the different things that they feel they quote unquote need to do to create a successful child.
Mhm.
But it's never a successful child that the parents are actually doing it for. It's for them to feel successful. And the
Mhm.
programming knows that. The programming is targeting the wounds of our inner children that never felt enough.
Mhm.
And that comes from past generations of, and this is actually another second one, but past generations of kids being seen and not heard,
Mhm.
and the language of good girl and good boy.
Mhm.
So there's this striving for mothers to receive approval from their own mothers unconsciously. It's a
Mhm.
whole tangled web. And then they're being shown, oh, you need to sign up your kids for all these programs. And if you just start your kids off learning ABCs at the age of 2, they'll be better at school later on. And all of these different things that mothers are shown, indoctrinated with,
Mhm.
that continues to have them think my child's not enough and I'm not enough. And that
Mhm.
just passes it on. It just unconsciously, through their actions, their thoughts, their beliefs, their skin to skin contact, their aura, that my kid's not enough. Because now they're not meeting the mother's expectations and she's trying to validate herself from her mom. And the second one that I kind of mentioned was the my voice has no power. I am powerless.
Mhm.
And that comes from the be seen and not heard. That comes from a lot of silencing. And so mothers, there are so many mothers who have come to me in my client sessions where they they believe in all this, but they're afraid to actually take the steps to start implementing all this into their parenting and into their
Mhm.
lifestyle because of they're afraid of the judgment, they're afraid of the abandonment, they're afraid of, and these are all primal needs, right? We want to feel
Mhm.
like we're part of a tribe.
Mhm.
And
Especially as a new mother.
exactly.
Mhm.
And they're afraid to use their voice because they've been silenced as a kid. Or going
Mhm.
even deeper, because the work with theta healing, we talk about 4 levels of beliefs. It could also be a past life of a witch wound,
Mhm.
right? That mothers are realizing that I have no voice. I'm scared to speak up. I'm scared to say, no, don't touch my kid. Or no, I don't like when you do this, or whatever it could be. And so those are two really big ones. And one interesting one that I have seen is that, and I can't actually pinpoint the exact belief. Let me see. I have to suffer as a mother.
Ooh.
It's
Mhm.
got a whole wave of truth bombs. I have to suffer as a mother. So many mothers come to me, whether it is through the theta healing seminars, one-on-one sessions, or even joining the mother frequency, that their focus is on nervous system dysregulation, feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, and that they've lost themselves. And it's a lie. But it's a lie that we've continued to believe because we've been programmed to believe it. The
Mm-hmm.
Matrix has programmed mothers to believe that that is just the way it is. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think about Hollywood, when they show mothers, it's never mothers who are happy. It's mothers who
Yeah.
are stressed. Their hair is in a bun or all over the place. They have food all over them. They're running around. They're carrying all these bags. And it's like, well, can I swear?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Let it rip.
It's like, well, no shit. Mothers are going to see that and think, well, that's just the way it is. And when we begin to ask the question, well, is there another way? Can there be something else here? Or why is that the way mothers are perceived? And there's even beliefs around like money, that when you become a mother, you no longer have financial sovereignty.
Mm,
And I've noticed so many mothers mentioning that they are struggling with finances, or they feel bad about asking their partner for wanting to do something, or, and this is very common with single mothers as well. And I get it, they're a single household. However, it's also been programmed. And I know if it's a single mother out here listening, you might get angry, but just sit with it for a bit, because it doesn't
mm-hmm.
have to be that way. There are single mothers who are millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
That could be you
Mm-hmm.
if you choose a different story. And it's as simple as choosing a different belief. But
Mm-hmm.
it can't be done from beta. It can't be done from fight or flight. It has to be done from theta, because that's the brainwave state. You picked it up. And
Mm-hmm.
like there's so many other ones. There's so many lies
Mm-hmm.
that mothers are believing, but those are definitely the top ones.
Yeah. Thank you for that in-depth like overview. Um, I want to go a little bit deeper into that like belief around suffering as a mother. It's something that came through is like it extends so much beyond just motherhood, right? That convolution of suffering and love. Like love is suffering is such a deep, deep program. And when we can disentangle, be like, okay, these are the beliefs. And in my world, I'm also trained in theta healing. Haven't mentioned that.
Oh my gosh, I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's something that I'll like kind of use here and there, but I've developed my own modality of that I call embodied evolution. And so we work with at the emotional level and learning to integrate emotions. And when you're talking about like, okay, maybe this will make you angry and just switch the belief, yes, and I love to allow space for that emotion to like metabolize through the body. And this is kind of the thing that naturally happens through theta healing that I realized. For me, when I first learned it, it wasn't really landing because I was so disconnected from my body. And um, I've talked about this all the time on the podcast, a little bit of a heavy topic, so trigger warning for you here. I don't really give trigger warnings to my audience. I experienced childhood sexual assault, and so there was this deep, deep, deep program in me of like disconnection from my voice. When I brought it forward in my family, it was like, no, don't talk about that. And then just like that distrust of my own creative life force, right? It being something that someone can take from me, something that someone can like take advantage of. And learning to actually like feel in my body is what allowed me to break through those layers into the belief. And so I kind of wanted to expand that conversation too for anybody who is listening that has maybe a similar history or has tried some of the energetics and belief reprogramming, still coming up against these like stickiness of love and suffering or scarcity and motherhood and the the enoughness. Like I feel like that enoughness one is really the epicenter of the matrix programming. It's, our solar plexus, it's our sense of self. And when energetically we have these, let's say like vacancies or tears, it leaves us open and vulnerable for things to hook into it. And you can actually feel that. You can feel that in your body. You can feel that in your diaphragm and your fascia being like tight, and it shows up in how your breathing is present. And so, yeah, sharing that different access point too. I'm curious to hear more, now kind of shifting back into childhood development, how maybe let's talk about some developmental markers in terms of the chakra system, because the education system loves to create behavioral milestones and then just group people who were born anywhere throughout a year together and be like, yeah, these are your milestones, go figure it out. And it's just like there's such a wide range of diversity in children in a single like same age classroom. It's insane to try to fit them all into these rigid categories. And so I'm curious to kind of peel back a layer of what that looks like through the chakra development system.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that too. It's like looking in a mirror. I experienced the same thing, and I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Mm.
This will kind of actually tie in. So I agree with you. There's that somatic piece that is needed for the full clearing to happen, which is why I love pairing the theta healing with I usually do it with some tapping, usually do this with nervous system regulation, but
Mm.
also the chakra development, like we talked about, right?
Hmm.
So if you are open to it, what age did this experience happen for you?
It's a little unclear, but I pinpointed it between like 3 and 7 because that's where I don't have very much memory.
Okay. So I'm gonna have you close your eyes. We're
Hmm.
gonna play a little fun little game. If you could guess what's the age, go with the first thing that comes to mind.
I know for sure something happened when I was 3.
Okay. So you can open your eyes now. So that is when your root chakra and your heart chakra was being developed.
Hmm.
So all the beliefs around this energy center and these two is safety with love, knowing
Hmm.
that love is unconditional. And if
Hmm.
something like that happens, right, and instills beliefs and somatic imprints in the heart and in the root chakra, that it is unsafe to love myself, that I have to give, like, there's always conditions. I have to give a part of myself in order to be
Hmm.
loved. And does that resonate with you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so it's, and this is all like in the book too. Like I went through,
Hmm.
like, you're not going to have to worry about it when your kids are 50, but it goes into for you as an adult to be able to know, like, okay, when I'm in my seventh chakra development cycle, I know exactly what beliefs are being developed because this journey is really for you as a mother as well as your kids because you're still developing your chakras as a mom
Hmm. Hmm.
and you're going to go through your own things and your kids are going to trigger the shit out of you if there are any wounds in those energy centers that your kids are having you reflect on and heal.
Hmm.
Um, so whenever I talk about the chakra development, it's not necessarily the milestones. It's more of I have mothers think about, okay, what is the theme of these centers? And can you rearrange your language, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your reactions to best support what is being instilled in that energy center? So, for
Hmm.
example, the first 7 years, as I call the imprinting period, is when your kids are in theta and it's all the root chakra. It's a 7 year cycle of the root chakra. And so, in those first 7 years, your primary I don't want to say goal, but your primary responsibility as a mother is to create safety for your kid.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that they are safe with their needs being met, so the root and the root chakra, they are safe with their emotions, they are safe with expressing themselves, they are safe to be loved, they're safe to speak their truth, they're safe to trust to trust themselves, and they're safe to feel connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so in each of these years, it's never really something for the kid to do. It's more of, or for the kids to like meet, like a lot of parent, oh my God, sorry. Like a lot of parenting guidelines have for you, right? Is your kids need to meet these
Mm-hmm.
expectations. Mine is a shift of more of the mother needs to meet these expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like in each of these years, there's something there that the matrix has put in place to instill these disempowering beliefs. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just use the example of the first year when it's a root and the root. From conception to age 1, it is the root. And what are parents being programmed? I have no idea what's going on. What
Some
are
more
parents?
clearing in the throat.
What are parents being programmed to do but to sleep train their kids?
Mm-hmm.
So in that time, they are being told to separate their kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that instills, and I've seen this in majority of my clients who have been sleep trained, that deep core belief system. And with theta healing, how we dive into those beliefs, it comes back to that moment in childhood when they were sleep trained, when they called out for their mom and no one came, and they instill beliefs that I am alone and I can't rely on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're thinking about what's the root chakra is about safety, and we're being told as mothers to sleep train, that it's
Energy.
once you see it, you're like, well, now it makes sense why we continue to be told this.
Yeah.
Because if mothers were told that it's safe to co-sleep, that do it, it's the best thing for your
Mm-hmm.
child, there would be a lot more people in the world feeling so safe in their environment, in their home, in their body, that
Mm-hmm.
again, they wouldn't need to outsource crap food in order to fill a void. They wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
need to go into toxic relationships in order to recreate some sort of abandonment.
Yeah. The whole like alcohol and drugs industries would also collapse.
Exactly.
It's so wild to be like I had mentioned, I worked in childcare. Part of my career in that space was as a private nanny, and I would see these mothers like, I didn't have a say on the parenting style, and that's ultimately why I left. I was just like, I can't watch this happen. But they would be in such like deep conflict around like allowing quote cry it out. It's our instinctual nature, our like ancestral, like primal body, rooted in our root chakra. Even if we've had all of this conditioning around sleep training of what motherhood looks like, of societal expectations, there's it's you can't erase that instinctual, intuitive connection between a mother and a child. And so, for all the mothers listening to this, like, if you feel something, rather than shaming yourself or guilting yourself or running to a doctor or running to whatever external sources to be validated that you're either doing it right or you're doing it wrong or you're doing enough or you're not doing enough, like, root into following those sensations of following those urges. And there'll be the fear like right alongside that, because that is the programming, but you can still feel fear and do something anyways, right?
Mhm.
Oof, I'm fired up.
Right? I get fired up when I talk about this. I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
ready to fight someone.
Yeah, right. And like regaining access to that healthy fight response, and
Yeah.
not suppressing it or like collapsing in on yourself is part of the work, right? Is part of the deprogramming. And that fierce mother, like, I'm thinking of like a jaguar or like
Yeah.
a bear for the North American folk. um, that animal instinct lives within each of us, whether you have a mother or not. Like, I'm here sleeping in my bed and there's a baby that's at the neighbors, and whenever I hear it cry, like, I'm up out of my sleep and I'm like, where's the baby? No,
Yeah.
it's so hardwired into our biology that the cry it out method, the sleep training, is just a hoax. So
Yeah.
I love that you're bringing that forward too.
Yeah. If we had more mothers, like when, I'm gonna say when, not if, when we have more mothers awakening to this power, to
Mhm.
remember how powerful we are, that we don't have to listen to fuck all these quote unquote experts that say that they know better than us. And I don't even know if you want to get into the whole vaccine thing, but there's
Yeah,
just,
that's what I was thinking too.
once we remember our power, the matrix collapses
Exactly.
because they're targeting mothers because they realize how powerful their role is. If you can
Hmm.
condition a mother, you can condition a child, and you're going to raise a child who is programmed by the matrix, who is there to perform. They're not free. And
Hmm.
so when we awaken to this
Hmm.
power, I I'm just so excited to see what happens.
Right? I'm so excited too. I've been thinking about this, well, for my whole life, like watching all these adults do their little like puppet show, and be like, wow, like what's it gonna be like when people my age are the ones in power? What's this world gonna look like? Now, I've always been a dreamer, that kind of goes hand in hand with the childhood experience that I shared. There's like this disconnect from safety. Where do we go? Well, we go into the ethers and we
Yes.
go into this like, okay, well,
We
what
play.
if not this, then what world can I create? And then the work becomes grounding it back into the root chakra from the ethers. And uh, I want to share more about my vision for this next generation. And I have so many ideas at the same time. um, I have a friend who also does sovereignty work. She's a mother. She's actually pregnant right now. She always says that her work focuses on mothers and women because they're the acupuncture point of the collective awakening. I Right? So good, so good. And so part of my future vision is to actually rebuild the village. Right now I'm doing it through my mentorship spaces and proposing more collaborative leadership, which is that same work of shifting beliefs from I have to do it on my own, of being hyper independent, of striving for success through performance because there isn't that rooted into our inherent worthiness and enoughness. And what I'm working towards is then bringing that actually into the physical, tangible, land based village for mothers to child rear together and to be in the different stages of life together, of prenatal and postpartum, and have like this eco residential retreat structure around a village, and part of that being birthing centers. So women get to be supported through that process rather than feeling like they either got to do it like at home alone or
Mhm.
um, in the medical industrial complex. And right now, where I'm at in Mexico, we're working with an eco residential retreat center space. They just opened like the hotel division. We're working on a food forest to secure food sovereignty. It's coming back to the beginning of this conversation, and that's a whole episode in its own of the poisoning of the food supply. Is one of the ways that the programming self compounds, and then the residencies is the next step. So we have a few different people in our network here who are working on these projects. And so we're in the stage of seeing what works, what doesn't work, so that when we've acquired land and we have connected with other founding members who share this vision and actually want to build this together, and it's a good fit, and there's self leadership and responsibility to invest in building that together, that the blueprint has a like test proof of concept so that we can like really establish something that I want to expand just beyond the one, like create this training like residency where people can come experience what life is like in the eco village and then replicate the model and build more of these. And so this is a big vision, a big collective movement to um, creating more resourced motherhood. Because it's beautiful to, you know, have these conversations online, to be doing our own reprogramming work and to have resources. And the truth of the matter is, like, existing inside of a nuclear family, inside of a city structure, while you can make it work, you can thrive inside that. Is that the ultimate desire of what we really truly want at the deepest level? And for a lot of people, it isn't. And so when we can get through those layers of conditioning that say, well, this is just the way it is, this is the way it's always been, then like settling into that doesn't need to be the only option. So that's my big vision.
I'll meet you in
uh,
Mexico.
yes, you were invited. Um, and okay, where are we at? I like get so excited when I talk about that. We're almost wrapping up at the hour. Is there anything that you feel is left unsaid? Any open threads that you kind of want to loop back before we start to close up?
I feel like we could touch on so much. We could go
Right.
down a million rabbit holes. Um, oh my God, there's so many. Where, what is the most important here? Hold on.
Hmm.
I think I know what creator is channeling to me is just for mothers to, like, if you're listening to this and you're a mother, just start questioning why you believe this. Why do you
Hmm.
believe this to be true? If anything in this episode has triggered you, or you get defensive or angry or guilt, just sit with that, because that is not the truth. We have just hit a programming that now,
Hmm.
because you heard something different, it is triggering, it's putting you into fight or flight of, there's no way it could possibly be anything else because I've created my whole world to be around this as the truth.
Hmm.
So just sit with it. Give it a couple days, come back and maybe listen to it again.
Hmm.
Get your hands on the Sovereign Child book and just
Hmm.
slowly go through it at your own pace, because you know deep in the core of you, this is the truth. This is the
Hmm.
highest truth. And you may not believe it now. You may believe it in a year. You may believe it in 5 years. And if you found this episode, it's because you were also ready to hear it now,
Hmm.
right? And what I always say to my clients and in any of my sessions is that I'm not the healer. I am just the pathway that creator, the universe has chosen for you to remember your truth.
Hmm.
That's all this is. This is like the, whether you find this on YouTube or Spotify, the universal algorithm gave this to you because it's an answer to a question that maybe you didn't even realize you had. So
Hmm.
just sit with it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that invitation. And I'm gonna follow up with another question to be with. When you're in that questioning, I think sometimes it can kind of like end up being a spiral. And we also have the power to flip that spiral, rather it being a downward spiral. The descent is important, but if we're looping in shame and going into this place of like, well, what is real? You know, maybe not so helpful. But if we can shift the energetic like up and out of like, okay, if not this, then what? And keep asking that. Like, if not this, then what? And stay open to the answers. When we learn to ask different questions, that's another part of the programming is of asking the same questions that are leading us into the same pathways, opening up literal like new neural pathways that are accessed through being in a theta state. If not this, then what? Will create this ripple of shift. You'll start to see different connections reflected in the external world. You'll start to meet people who have different perspectives that might continue to trigger you or might actually land with a lot of resonance in your body and open a door for connection, for possibility, for opportunity to find out, if not this, then what. And I think that's a good place to close this episode. Thank you, Emily, so much for this conversation. It was uh, so refreshing and expansive, and I'm just like buzzing. I'm so excited to channel this into some creative work today. And thank you, listeners, for being here. As always, if there's something that you have a lingering question about, or something that really landed, or maybe even something that triggered you, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Emily. We'd love to keep the conversation flowing in a cycle of reciprocity here. And Emily, where can people connect with you? What's the best place? And we'll have everything linked below.
Yeah, it would be on my YouTube. So I have two YouTube channels, one which is Sovereign Rising Activations, where they're theta healing activations and does a reprogramming cycle breaking for you. And then the other one is just Sovereign Rising. And that is where there's more in-depth teachings on all of this chakra development. And I'm just slowly getting into more of the very controversial topics, such as what we talked about in this episode. So yeah, you can meet me over there, send me a message, send me an email. Yeah. I know you'll find me.
Amazing. I love the controversial topics. If it's like taboo and controversial, I'm like, that is my zone. Let's go. Thank you again for today.
Thank you so much.